Hello and welcome to the first class ever of Re-Educate Humanity. I'd like to welcome you all. My name is Dr. Talia Witkowski, and we're going to be talking for about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 10 minutes about sexuality, spirituality, sensuality, marriage, romance, everything that might be on your minds. I'm going to explain to you why we have addictions, what our sexuality has to do with that. And when we face our sexuality, we make peace with our sexuality, we don't run away from it, we are able to fulfill our passions. First of all, know our passions, and then fulfill them. Most of all, professionally. If you're satisfied professionally, and you're making money, and you're happy, you are going to have a healthy, fulfilling sexuality and sex life. But it's not so much about sex. I'm not here to talk about sex. I'm here to talk about how to feel your sexuality, how to feel turned on, how to be aware that you're alive and you're human and you get turned on by things and you get turned off by things, how to handle when you get turned off by things if you're a woman and you get a lot of advances from men and you don't know how to handle it and you want to have some language about how to handle it nicely, not castrate them when they compliment you, but not be too much of a pushover so that you might be sending the wrong message. It's a very slippery slope for women, but there is a way to handle that. I want to teach you to be aware of and in touch with your sexuality, not to use it lightly or selfishly to manipulate people, and to figure out how to use that as a tuning fork towards your passions, most of all in business. Because if you are able to provide for yourself and your family financially, and maybe even have some toys, you are going to be a very happy camper. And when you get turned on and when you feel stimulated and when you're drawn to someone, it's not going to be for the purpose of filling a hole or filling a void or trying to act something out. If you're angry, if you're sad, if you're lonely, sexuality is a great quencher of those areas of lack. I don't want you to use sex and sexuality to fill a void. I want you to be acting from those places on top of already coming with a full spirit and a full heart and being able to fulfill everything that you want on top of having the bases covered, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need to have a home, you need to have money, you need to have food, you need to have safety and shelter, and then you can start to think about the things that you're passionate about. If you're hurting and lacking in the core foundational needs of a human being, you're going to be very hungry spiritually, and sex is free. Even if you're a food addict, you still have to pay for that stuff. If you're a female or a male, you can go and you can usually find sex or some sort of escape sexually somewhere. I don't want that for you. I want you to enjoy your sexuality, and I want you to be able to tune in to it not from a place of lack, but from a place of bounty, to be able to use it to guide you towards what your highest passions are. And that is what Re-Educate Humanity is all about. Everything else is commentary. So, first of all, happy holidays. Welcome to the first ever class of Re-Educate Humanity. On the right hand over here, I have a question section. So if you would like to ask any questions, let me pull it up over here. There you go. If you would like to ask any questions, feel free to tap below. Whatever your questions are, I'll answer them. I've also unmuted people so that if you're on your phone and it's going to be hard for you to type in, feel free to just interject and ask any questions that you might have. It's completely fine. So if you do have background noise, please mute yourself so that you don't disturb the call. If anyone has any questions, raise your little virtual hand and I'd be happy to address it. The first thing that I want to talk about today, until any of you would like to jump on with questions while you're warming up and feeling courageous, first of all, it's all anonymous. I'm not going to call you out. I'm not going to say your name or your cyber name or your phone number or however you're registered there on the right-hand side. The first thing I want to talk about, since it is holiday season, is the holidays and how to deal with two things. One is food, and the fact that if you might feel lonely, maybe you're with family members and everyone has a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or a wife or some sort of significant other, and you feel longing and lack, you might turn to food to compensate for that, because a great relief of not being able to fulfill yourself sexually when you feel a desire, which also can be longing for a sexual partner, is food. So be aware of if you feel like overeating, that's a sign that your sexuality is raring to go, and it's up and it has some questions. If you feel lack or longing in the holiday season, you feel like you're not being satisfied sexually, spiritually, you feel yourself a little bit more drawn to food, alcohol, drugs, things that ordinarily you might be drawn to, but not to the extent that you're drawn to right now, that's completely normal. Why? Because society, I know that that's so cliche to just say society says or society makes you feel, but it's true. Society, which is also fueled by religion and religious teachings, society makes you feel as if you should have a certain life. You should have a certain lifestyle. You should be married or maybe have a significant other. You should have a solid full-time job. You should look a certain way. You should act a certain way. You should have a certain amount of money. And that's just complete fucking bullshit, to tell you the truth. Because, number one, let's start with money, because money is like a hot topic. There's money, food, and sex, right? Those are like the three most important things in the world. So let's start with money, because it's pretty fucking important, especially if you're a man. Money is something that makes you feel as if you can get laid, right? Because you can get women to be interested in you. Money makes you feel like you're secure, like you have a roof over your head, you can buy yourself food, you can buy yourself toys, you can have some fun. Money is very important. If you feel like society makes you feel that you should have a certain amount of money, that's completely normal, because you should have enough money to take care of yourself. However, there is no great entrepreneur that has not failed multiple times, gone from extreme wealth to extreme bankruptcy. I fundraised professionally for probably about 4 or 5 years. And some of my most esteemed investors that I worked with personally for months at a time had gained incredible wealth to the point of having their own private planes, their own villas all over the world, but sometimes were extremely cash poor because they had hit lulls. So if you're entrepreneurial, you are going to have ups and downs. You're going to have things in your life that you just can't do. I cannot have a 9-to-5 job. I cannot sit at a desk every day. I cannot answer to people that I think are slower or not as intelligent as me, even if they actually are more intelligent. If in my mind they're not, very hard for me to pay attention to them and respect them enough to do the job for them. And I would much rather make less money and be happy and work for myself and be building something that I own than working for someone else and be miserable. So that's a decision I make. So if you are not in the place where you want to be financially, let yourself know that that's okay, because you made that decision. If family asks you, oh, what are you doing now? It's so good to see you. Do you have a job now? Because, it's been 3 years. I don't see you having consistent income. You haven't bought that house yet for your family, or still driving that old car. Look at their lifestyle. Would you want their lifestyle? You might. It might look like they have the lifestyle. You might like the idea of a marriage and family. You might want kids. You might look at your brother or your uncle or your sister or your aunt and say they have wealth, they have a house, they have kids, they have a dog, they have a 401k, they have investments, they have a boat, but you have no idea what happens behind closed doors. You have no idea if they're actually happy. You have no idea how many pills they take every day. I am not accusing happy, financially stable people of all being addicts. However, you make compromises in life when you decide to take certain steps or make certain decisions. Everyone pays a price, as one of my favorite teachers once told me. The person that lives as a homeless man takes certain benefits by not having to answer to anybody, not having to go to a job, not having anything. He or she is sometimes cold. He or she sometimes don't have food in their belly, but they get a lot of freedom. They have a lot more freedom than I do, and maybe you do too. And someone that is a billionaire that runs multiple companies and has a couple, wives and ex-wives and a couple girlfriends and a lot of children or no children and houses and boats and assets. That pressure is painful at times, very painful. So just be aware, if you are living a certain life, make sure that you made that choice consciously and be proud of that choice. And fuck what anyone else thinks, because you don't necessarily want their life. And even if their life looks good, you have no idea what is really happening behind closed doors. And even if their life is amazing, They're happier than a pig in shit. Their life is incredible. Their kids are happy. Everything is great. It doesn't fucking matter. That's not the life for you. So just take a breath and enjoy. If you are feeling lack from financial means, that might make you feel a little bit like going to have some, new sex if you're more sexually stimulated, like I am that type of person. If I need an escape, I'll go to food. I'm sober now. I don't drink or smoke or anything like that, but I used to go to alcohol or drugs. Or I'll go to sex if I don't feel stimulated, if I don't feel like I'm good enough, if I feel like something is lacking in my life. I want to fill it up. So if I don't feel stable financially, if I don't feel happy about myself and my successes, and if I don't feel like generally I'm a good person, if I don't like the way that I behave to someone, if I feel guilty about how I acted, all that stuff, we generally feel guilt and shame around our sexuality. But then the way that we act in life and the way that we are to our fellow human beings adds on layers to that. So if you start to feel overstimulated, like you kind of need to go for a little bit of an escape sexually, and I'm not just talking about sex addicts, I'm talking about that loneliness that you feel that makes you want to be with another person. Sex is just a byproduct of loneliness. Let me repeat, sex is a byproduct of loneliness or lack. Now, you can have sex because you generally just like someone and you want to be with them, or you're in a loving, lasting relationship and you want to engage sexually. But when you have a sexual desire, when you have a desire to go out, maybe you want to go out with your girls and get some drinks and flirt with some dudes, that is a desire to go out and flirt and get attention sexually and maybe go home with someone. Now, let's talk about the fact that there is nothing wrong with that. Sexuality and spirituality are very highly connected. When you have a desire and an urge and a craving, and you go after it, you are pursuing a desire. And the word desire actually translates in Latin to of the Father. D-E-S-I-R-E. De is from, sire is father. So when you have a desire, if it's in business, if it's in relationships, if it's in sex, if it's in food, whatever it is, it's from the Father. You have a very strong instinct towards XYZ. Now, that's the surface layer. With anything, we know there's layers to the onion, and we are all massively layered onions. So first you have a desire. That's like a red light, a red flag in your psyche that's letting you know that there's something that you want and something that you need. You can go and partake in that and eat the food or close the business or have more sex or do some drugs or drink something or do whatever you want, pop some pills, and you will have satisfied that desire. But you didn't satisfy the desire. You numbed it. Do you understand? The desire that you had was for something greater. The desire for sex is very strong because it's about survival of the race. When you're attracted to someone, when you're drawn to someone, you could be wanting to have survival of the race, right? Maybe you have children purposefully or accidentally, but it also can be an act of creation. Maybe when you're intensely drawn to someone, it's because you have something that you can create with them that is beyond reason, possibly very financially viable. So it's very important to peel back the layers and ask yourself, as one of my really dear friends named Trisha Greaves says, she has a company called Heal Your Hunger. It's all about food addiction. And she says, ask yourself, what are you really hungry for? This is a cliche in the Overeaters Anonymous world, or people that work with food addiction and overeating. But it's true. What are you hungry for? Sexually, food-wise. If you don't feel comfortable in your job or happy, what are you hungry for? What do you want? And if you spend that time giving attention to the things that you're hungry for and doing some writing exercises, figuring out what's underneath the desires that you have, partake in them. Fuck whoever you want. Take whatever pills you want, drink whatever you want, smoke whatever you want, eat whatever you want, spend whatever you want. However, understand that if you have the means by which to take that to its logical end, it will eventually make you feel very numb, and there's never enough. If you're a passionate soul like me, you have something called the enough is never enough gene. I cannot, when I used to drink and smoke, I couldn't drink enough. I couldn't smoke enough. I couldn't eat enough mushrooms. I couldn't have enough sex. There was nothing that felt like enough or satisfaction. And that was actually a beautiful thing. And it still is about my personality. I'm a very passionate, very driven soul. People who know me personally, I have no off switch. I work a lot. I can sit and have a conversation with someone for hours and be stimulated and enjoy it. And it's a beautiful thing because I'm a very passionate soul. Those of you who feel a propensity towards sex, food, alcohol, drugs, overspending, gambling, all of the other addictions, gaming addiction, you have an incredible opportunity ahead of you. You are unusual. You have a higher potential than your average human being to succeed. You just have to figure out what the fuck you actually want to do. Because if you are using a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, a lot of sex, a lot of whatever, you are and by no means fulfilling your potential. Because if you were, you A, wouldn't have time for that shit, and B, it would be frankly quite boring. Because once you tap into your true potential, what you're supposed to be doing, what you're passionate about, it's like a rabbit hole. And you dive in and you just want to hang out there for long periods of time. And when you crave touch and you crave connection, it's going to be because you crave physical connection and physical touch because we're physical human beings. That's another distinction. Do you want to cuddle or do you want to fuck? Especially for women, it could be a little bit of both, but just because you want to be close with someone doesn't mean you want to fuck for a man as well. And if you do want to fuck or if you do want to cuddle, all of that is fine. And I'm not saying you're not living to your potential if you want to go out and have sex with a lot of people or everyone you come in contact with, or you're drawn to different people, or you like to have a lot of sexual partners. There's also something to be said about different people have different sexualities. Different people have different relationships with monogamy. Monogamy is not a one-sided definition. You can be monogamous with someone for a short period of time, and then the intensity and the passion and the desire falls away, and you're naturally drawn to other people. Should you not engage with other people? Should you not enjoy deep conversations? Should you not enjoy physical touch? Should you not enjoy that if you're naturally drawn to other people because you've committed to someone? It's a very good question. Some people would say, no, you make a commitment. That's the whole point of monogamy. It's how you have the institution of marriage, and you have the institution of families, and how children can have a mother and a father figure, or a father and a father figure, or a mother and a mother figure, or whatever gender people want to have or people feel identified with. But it's really important to figure out what your sexual identity is. Not homosexual or bisexual or polyamorous or monogamous or whatever, but what is your truth in this moment? And if it changes 5 minutes later, that's okay. What is not okay, and I don't mean not okay that you're going to be judged and go to hell, or that you're going to be judged, or that you're going to be a bad wife or a bad husband or girlfriend or boyfriend. What is not okay is when we lie to ourselves about who we are and we lie to other people. Now, it is very difficult to be honest, truly honest, in a relationship with someone that you really care about if you are not purely monogamous and they are, which means that it might be hard to actually be in a relationship with that person, or that person might not have come to terms with the fact that they might be more of an open person as well. This whole process, this whole podcast, this whole webinar, this whole re-education of humanity is all about helping you guys to identify who you are and then bringing that into your relationships so that you can have honest conversations with people, feel good about yourself as a human being, and not feel guilt and not feel shame, so that you don't have to fill up with addictions, you don't have to run away from yourself, and the cravings that you will have will subside if you're in a pseudo-monogamous relationship, because when you're honest with the person that you're having sex with or that you're dating or whatever you call them, your partner, it builds intimacy. People that can communicate and say, oh my God, that woman is gorgeous. I would love to fuck her, but I don't want to because I actually love fucking you because I love your brain and I love your personality and I love your body. I love that I know how to touch you. I love that I know how to get you off, blah, 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 blah. Not many people have those conversations, but not many people are allowed to express to their partner without hurting their partner's feelings, their attraction to other people, their desires for other people. They're not allowed to play with other people and experiment. The best way to know what you want and what you don't want is to try it, to sit on the fence and to think, I wonder if I want this, or I wonder what this would feel like, or do I want to take that other job, or do I want to keep this job? I would try the other job, and that's the only way you're going to know if it's any good or not. You might have lost that previous job, but you're not living in limbo. Living in limbo and not deciding one way or another is a horrible thing to do to your psyche. That is what we call purgatory. Not we, I'm a Jew, we don't have purgatory. But that's what people that are religious that believe in purgatory, that's what purgatory is. It's an in-between state. It's not knowing, are you in heaven or are you in hell? If you're in hell, if you just decide to stay in that job that you fucking hate, but at least you can take care of your kids, at least you bring home a paycheck, at least you can go on a nice vacation once a year and you drive a really nice car, but you still feel like you're living in hell, but you get some perks, you can settle into hell. You can get comfortable with hell. You can tell yourself some lies about hell. Or you can quit hell and you can be like, I'm going to go to heaven. It sucks because none of my friends that I used to party with in hell are here, but at least you can go to heaven. You can go to the next place. You've made a decision, or someone's made a decision for you when it comes to heaven or hell, supposedly, according to what we think about religion. But being in the middle, being non-discerning, not being able to make a decision, not figuring out and taking action on what your passions are, that will leave you feeling miserable and empty. So the number one rule for happiness is actually action. Even if you fuck yourself over, even if you lose that person that you were in love with, because you were like, I need to take a little bit of a break because I'm drawn to everyone under the sun and I literally want to fuck everyone that I see. And I don't want to make you feel bad and I don't want to lie to you, but I don't feel like it's being honest and true to myself to not engage in that. It doesn't make you a sex addict to want to fuck everyone that's in front of you all the time. It actually makes you human and alive. There's a lot of men, especially women too. Women do this once they make some decent money. But there's a lot of men who have achieved a lot of success, who by all intents and purposes would be sex addicts or straight up quote unquote perverts or sexual deviants in terms of like how intense and interesting their sexual propensities are. Why? Because their lives are so overstimulating that in order for them to actually have like some playtime and some fun, they need it to be at quite a high level. They need to go pop bottles at a club. They need to have not one stripper, but maybe 5 or hookers. They need to have a lot of girlfriends. They live life on the edge. There's some people who are very successful and very happy and live very moderate lives. Those are people that on the scale of success and achievement have reached a plateau and they're happy and they stop. People that still want to achieve more and still can achieve more and aren't happy. Just because someone has money does not mean that they're happy. There's a lot of very wealthy people that made money making widgets, for example. They are not passionate about widget making, but they make a shitload of money. They got pretty boats, they got pretty cars, they got pretty women, but they are fucking bored. And they will fuck their brains out. They will snort their brains out. They will take as many pills. They will drink as much liquor as they can. They'll eat as much nasty food for them that fucking clogs up their colon and makes them, God forbid, die at a young age. They're miserable. So it's not about having money. It's not about having amazing, beautiful women. If you're a woman and you have a healthy sexuality, it's not about having tons of men at your disposal. It's about being happy. You can have all the sex in the world. You can have all the food in the world. You can have all the money in the world. You can have the best drugs in the world. At the end of the day, you're still alone with yourself. So the purpose of being alive is to make peace with yourself. The shortcut to making peace with yourself is to make peace with your sexuality. What does that mean? To make peace with your sexuality means to not judge it, and on the other side, to not use it lightly and selfishly. We're going to do a whole class teaching women how to not manipulate with their sexuality. That is the most important lesson. If I were to die tomorrow, I would want to make sure that I taught that to women before I left the planet. I learned this from some very, very smart people. So we're going to teach about that. But when you make peace with your sexuality, then you will be guided towards the things in life that are important to you. But if you manipulate with your sexuality, and when I say make peace with your sexuality, what I mean is that you, number one, acknowledge it. instead of being like, oh my God, I'm probably a sex addict. I want to fuck everything and everyone, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're a child or adult or teenager. I can't imagine. I'm a female. I have masturbated every day of my life since my earliest memories, since I was 3 years old. Actually, I was celibate for about 5 or 6 years. So I took a long period not doing anything sexually. Other than that, I've been very free and open and honest and safe and all of that good stuff. But I can imagine what it is like for a teenage boy to come into puberty and be woken up out of a dead sleep with a hard penis or maybe stuff coming out of it, not understanding what the hell is going on. Hopefully you have a sweet, loving parent at home that'll explain to you what the fuck's going on. If you're raised by a single mom, poor woman's got to figure out how the fuck to explain it to you. All you want to do is masturbate all day long, but you're supposed to hide it from your parents. I mean, talk about the confusion and the shame and guilt, and that is the beginning of our sexuality. That's for men. If you're a woman and you're a female, I don't know. There's a lot of women who have never masturbated. There's a lot of women who I don't think they'd say they've never had an orgasm. They'll just say they don't know if they've had an orgasm, which means that they haven't. But when you make peace with your sexuality, you're aware of it, and you dip into yourself when you feel overly interested in sex or just interested at all and say, I wonder what I'm feeling right now. This person, I'm drawn to them. I want to spend time with them. What is it about them? Do they look good? Does their body look good? Is their brain amazing? All that good stuff. I think Yana's on the line. Hi, Yana.
Hi, baby.
Do you have any questions or should I mute you?
I love you.
I love you too. I'm going to mute you.
I love you.
Oh my God, I muted you. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to jump on. Otherwise, I'm muting all of you lovely people. I love you too, Yana. So you want to figure out what your sexuality is trying to tell you, and you want to make peace with it, and you want to be drawn to it, and you want to ask yourself why you're drawn to the people that you're drawn to and what you're craving with them. Are you craving emotional support? Are you craving mental stimulation? Whatever. And those things that you're drawn to might be the things that you're lacking in your life, or not lacking, but you can add to. So that's how to make peace with your sexuality, which we're going to speak a lot more about. And then you also don't want to use it lightly or selfishly. Whether you're a man or a woman, there's always going to be someone of the opposite sex that's interested in you. And they might be willing to do things for you, buy you things, give you opportunities because they're interested in you sexually. Now, I could do a whole speech about the Me Too movement, which I will get into, but it's very important as a woman. It has nothing to do with even protecting yourself sexually or being, a feminist and not giving in to allowing men to like buy things for you or do things for you. I'm all about getting spoiled. I'm all about people opening doors for me and men paying for dinner if they can afford it. But it's very important to not use your sexuality lightly and selfishly and trying to manipulate people, even if you're not manipulating, even if you know damn well that someone's interested in you and they're doing something nice for you or giving you an opportunity because they like you. Maybe they don't even just want to sleep with you. They actually want to date you. But you know damn well you have no interest in them. You don't want to date them. You don't want to fuck them. You don't want to marry them. You don't want to have their babies. You don't want to do anything with them sexually. You maybe want to be their friend, but you can tell that they're not really interested in being your friend, and there's nothing that you can do that's going to change their mind. So if you accept their gifts or you accept their help, that's fine. But just know that in your heart, when you do that, you're going to feel a little bit like a whore. I don't mean that you are a whore, because it's okay to receive gifts, and everyone barters in life. Like we said, everyone pays a price for what they do. But when you use your sexuality and people wanting you, and you let them do things for you, when you know damn well if they weren't interested in you, they wouldn't want to do those things or they wouldn't offer those things, you're not going to feel good. They haven't done anything wrong. This is where you have to grow up and put your big boy and big girl pants on. And I will teach you the language to be able to convert and to switch that conversation so that you can receive their help, but you're very clear about the terms by which you're receiving it, so that you won't subconsciously feel like a whore for receiving it. Because if you feel like a whore, you're going to treat yourself like a whore, and you're going to get a whore's reward, which means you're only going to be viewed by people as someone that should be, paid for sex, which means you have no real value to someone other than a sexual being. Now, if you're a man and you really like sex, or a woman, you might be fine with that. If you're a sex worker, that might be cool. If you've made a conscious decision to receive money or goods in exchange for sexual favors or flirting or being on a campsite, God bless you. I fucking love you. I am 100% pro-sex. I am sex positive. Rock on to all my sisters and brothers in the sex industry. It's fucking awesome. I fully believe that you actually sustain the institution of marriage, because you know how many married men and women use porn, or not married? I mean, that's a whole separate conversation. But if you do not consciously choose to receive money or goods and services in exchange for sex, flirting, sexuality, someone looking at you like they're undressing you with their eyes, and then it makes you feel yucky and bad and you want to go home and take a shower and you want to think bad thoughts and they're a bad person, you condoned that shit. You allowed them to do you a favor in exchange for spending time with you, taking you to dinner. You can go to dinner with a man or a woman who buys you dinner, and you know they want to fuck you, and you do or you don't, and you spend time with them, and you go home and you don't feel so fucking good. Or you drank a lot more at dinner than you usually do. Or you smoked a little bit before. Or you had more blow when you got home than you normally do. Do you know why? Because you feel like a whore. You're not a whore, but you feel like a whore. Because if you were a whore, you would have taken the fucking money. You would have been like, all right, so this dinner costs about $300. Maybe with a bottle of wine, $500. So just take the money. Don't go to dinner. We've talked about sexuality, spirituality, different addictions, what drive different addictions. Now I want to talk a little bit about my favorite tool that I've been doing religiously or dedicated to it for about 13 years, twice a day, which is meditation. There's no such thing as not thinking. All you have to do is take time out of your day once or twice a day. I recommend you do it before you eat, so before breakfast or lunch or dinner. If you commit to a time every day, like doing it before breakfast or before dinner every day, and you don't allow yourself to eat that meal, even if you have a scheduled appointment, escape to your car, go to the restroom, sit on the toilet. If you make yourself sit and not move for 5 or 10 minutes every day, your life will change. If your eyes are closed and your mouth is shut, there can be tons of chaos and noise around you, though I don't recommend it, and you're sitting still, ideally with your limbs uncrossed, because our body is a circuit. So if your arms are crossed, the circuit's broken. You won't have as much of a peaceful connection in the meditation. So you leave your limbs uncrossed, you sit, you close your eyes, you close your mouth, you chill out, and you just relax. Thoughts will come to you all the time. You can't not think. I actually believe that the things that come to me when I'm meditating are the thoughts or the things that have happened in the day, or the stressors that have the most emotion or stress attached to it. And I'm actually thinking about it in my subconscious while I'm meditating, so that I can come to conclusions without being stressed out by the emotional attachment to it that would happen if I was thinking about it when I wasn't meditating. So, number 1 rule, sit and be still. Ideally in a quiet place if possible. Number 2, close your eyes and close your mouth. Try not to talk. Try not to open your eyes. Number 3, choose a mantra. A mantra is something to focus on and to say. I say God is love. I taught a 6-year-old to meditate. She said unicorn. What the mantra is you say it repeatedly to yourself. So I say, God is love, God is love, God is love. Something you want to reinforce into your subconscious. It's literally something for those of us with ADD to focus on and to do, instead of sitting still for 5, 10, 20 minutes and going absolutely crazy. It's a task. So if you say it to yourself repeatedly, you'll start to get calm. You'll have something to do. And when you have thoughts, you can return to the mantra so that you don't feel distracted, or you can simply entertain those thoughts. Those thoughts, it's not bad to think when you're meditating. I have gotten answers to questions about, like, personal questions, professional questions, issues that I've had with coworkers that I've gotten a very simple and calm and conflict-free solution to while I was meditating. So use meditation as a gift and a tool. Try to do it before one meal every day. Make yourself a commitment. Make yourself a New Year's commitment. Try to do it for a week or even 30 days straight. Pick before lunch or before dinner. I do it twice a day, which is actually referred to as transcendental meditation, though I was not trained normally in the transcendental meditation style, but that's more or less what I do. Pick a mantra, sit still, ideally for 20 minutes, but start with 5 or 10, you'll be fine. Don't move. Say your mantra repeatedly. And if you think, that's a good thing. Obsess about stuff. You can even spend the entire meditation reminiscing on the last person you had sex with, and you will have been successfully meditating. So, in summation, we have about 5 minutes left to the call. I'm going to try to unmute everyone again. I can tell if you try to talk. So if anyone wants to talk, just speak up and I'll unmute you. And if not, then I will say goodbye and say thank you. So does anyone have any questions or want to bring anything up? Anybody at all? Let's see. Yana?
Maybe a question.
Yes.
What if you still meditating at, as you said, you could meditate at the last person you had sex with, right?
Yes.
And what if you are meditating? Does that make you forget about the person?
If you meditate on the last
For
person.
example, if you're not with that person and you're meditating on that, you surely have to know that you have to let go that person, right?
Yes.
And how do you let it go if you meditate on that?
So if you're meditating and someone comes to mind, then they're very much in your subconscious and in your frontal brain too. They're there in your thoughts and in your mind and in your heart. When something comes up in meditation, it's beautiful because there's no emotional attachment to it. So even if you obsess about the last sexual encounter you had with them, a fight you had with them, a beautiful dinner you had with them, you are processing the experience and you're cleaning off all of the emotional attachment to it, pain, fear, guilt, pleasure, all the good stuff and the bad stuff, and it actually helps you move through it. So if you're obsessing with about someone while you're meditating, it's fine. It just means that they're still there and you're starting to move them into a different place. It's not necessarily out of your mind, but you're taking the emotional attachment off of them. And it's not a matter of getting rid of people from our minds or our hearts if we're not dating them anymore, not having sex with them anymore, if they're not our employer anymore, or if they're a friend we don't hang out with anymore. It's about removing the emotional attachment to it, because then they don't take up space and they don't take up bandwidth in our brain, and we're more open to other opportunities professionally, personally, stuff like that. Does that make sense? So obsess all you want. If they come to you in meditation, great. Think about it the whole time. It's actually a good thing.
Okay. I got you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, guys. I think I'm going to sum it up for now. If you guys have any questions, you can chat with me on the side. You're more than welcome to email me anytime with questions, and we're going to do this every week. And thank you for your time. Thank you very much, and have a great holiday with your family, and I'll see you guys next week.